Today, we're going to go through a relatively quick agenda, and it's kind of an overview. We're not going to kind of solve any detailed technical problems today, but I wanted to definitely give you a good primer on why you need a website, and then specifically how to create a website that's going to actually generate leads for you. And so we're going to talk about why that's important, and maybe a little bit different than you're thinking right now. Then I'm going to talk through some design principles on sort of how your website should be conceptually designed, and some important elements that will actually allow that website to generate leads. Oftentimes we think about beauty and we forget the practical part of the lead generation and what people need to do to actually inquire with you and your business. Then we're going to talk real briefly about how to position your website or maybe your landing page. On this call, we've got insurance folks, mortgage lenders. We'll probably get some independent brokers and agents. We may actually have companies and startups. So all of those have kind of slightly different needs for local search marketing, but I'm going to talk about kind of the core places to start that, and the essential elements of kind of doing it right and making an impact so that you can be found in your local market, which is always a good, no matter how big you are, it's always good to kind of start local. For a lot of reasons we'll talk about. And then we're going to talk about potentially how to use your website in the sales process in order to close more deals. So that's kind of our agenda today. Again, any questions as we go along with this, definitely drop them in the chat and we'll make this as interactive as we can. All right, so here's a go. First and foremost, why? Why do you need a website? Again, this kind of varies from depending on what you're actually in. Let me pause my notifications here. Sorry about that. Okay. So why you want to actually have a website. And again, obviously there's the lead generation component, but there's also a couple other things that are super important to the why of this. One, you want to own your own brand. So if you're working for a company, or if you're working for an agency or something like that, it's always critical that you in some way own your little piece of the brand. So depending again on your particular situation, if you're a startup, you own the company, then maybe your brand is sort of synonymous with the company. Like myself, I own Kaleidico, which is a digital agency. Sort of Bill Rice and Kaleidico are sort of synonymous, and I own that, so that's okay. But if you are an employee or you're an agent under a broker or an agency, there are a lot of reasons why you want to start securing your name, particularly in your local market, because sometimes those relationships can change. And you would hate to do a great job building the brand that you're under right now and then leaving it and always having to, as a salesperson, which is kind of what this is sort of targeted at, having to start over every time. So we're going to talk a little bit about owning your own brand. Is always a good idea. Obviously, do this in a good way, in collaboration with, if you're working for a company or whatever. You don't want to, violate any non-competes and anything like that. But there are ways to kind of, in a good way, own your own brand. This is a fact that so many people forget and underappreciate. Every single client, no matter where they come from, even if they're a referral, they're going to Google you. They're going to Google your name. Even if you hand them a business card and say, hey, call me if you need, XYZ, they're still going to take that card and they're going to Google you. And they're probably not going to call straight from the card. In fact, the card is probably going to get lost, and then you're going to hope that they remember your name and your company, and they're going to ultimately Google you. So start with that fundamental assumption that they are going to Google you, and you should do the same and see kind of where you stand and where you position. This is probably the most important reason to have some level of website and good local positioning for your name and, again, potentially your brand. And then last but not least, just simple client convenience. So no matter what you sell, if you're in the services business, your financial services, obviously if you sell a product, if you're any sort of professional services, a lot of times a client, even if they're interested in working with you, will like the convenience of sort of filling out your contact form and then having you get back to them, or potentially real quickly trying to find your phone number because, again, they threw away your business card. So just that simple convenience. Or maybe they just want to ask you a question, but they don't want to get on a long phone call with you. They certainly don't want to get into a sales conversation, but they simply just kind of want to leave you a note or email you. Again, by Googling it and using the website, this goes a long way to just kind of creating convenience and good customer service for your clients. So those are kind of my 3 top. Any questions about that? Any other reasons? Yeah, in the chat, actually, just out of curiosity and question's sake, what are some of the reasons that you guys are thinking about sort of having your own website? Are you just trying to kind of improve what you already have, or is there some very specific reason that you were kind of interested in this webinar? Okay, so we'll take a look at that. Nobody's volunteering their suggestion to generate leads. Okay, Lou, do you already have a website right now, and you're just trying to get that one to generate leads, or are you thinking about starting a new one in order to start generating? Okay. Perfect. Okay, so this webinar is going to work for both, whether you're actually envisioning a brand new website, and I'm going to kind of show you how to do that, or you're just trying to kind of get more out of the website that you have. So you're in the perfect place. Captive agent. Okay. So this works too. Like, even if, let's say you're an insurance person and you work for an agency, State Farm or something like that, and they give you kind of the obligatory landing page. A lot of times you don't have a lot of control over what that is, but at least you can take that landing page and you can start to position it better in your local market, and we'll talk about that. So that link should start going in every single email you send out. That link, again, because think about the convenience factor. Even if the landing page isn't perfect, just the convenience of putting an email so they can kind of take a look at your actual web page, or putting that into your Google My Business as a location allows them to kind of find it in your local market. So those are all things we're going to talk about. Again, this is a decision you have to make. So there's a question about kind of insurance agents as far as like the landing page and having your own. Again, I'm not going to get into the rules because there may be rules about what you can and can't do. I think you should start to have, as an insurance agent or as a mortgage broker, you should have a personality page that is just you. And doing business with you. And you can obviously co-brand that with your current agency or your broker, so that they can, when they're looking and searching for, which is probably what they will do, they're searching for Bill Rice, they'll find Bill Rice. If they search for Bill Rice and you work for State Farm, the chances of them finding the right place is hard. So that's kind of that. But if you are given a landing page that has your name on it, you can certainly use that in your positioning as we go through and some of these suggestions. So keep the questions coming, and I'll try to address them as I understand them and see them. Okay, so first and foremost, when you're building any sort of website or you're trying to improve the website you have, always think about focusing on conversion. So what is a conversion? That's what produces a lead. And sometimes there's all kinds of debate as to what a lead is. But when I'm talking about a lead and when I'm talking about a conversion, I'm talking really one of two things happening. They come to your website and they either fill out a web form, which usually in most cases will send you an email that will have their name, their email address, and potentially some message that is the lead. I would not get too complex, right? You don't, especially, you're not LendingTree, or you're not like, some high-end lead generator. You don't need all of that information. You just need enough to get the conversation started, right? Because you're kind of a small operation, and these leads are going to be better because they're coming just straight to you. So you don't need to collect all that information. And the more pieces of information you collect, the lower the pull through on that form. So the lower your conversion will be. So that's one element of conversion, just web form fill out. And then the second one is a phone call, right? And so that means, any sort of page that you have, definitely put a phone number on it. Any given client, based on testing, will easily be 3, sometimes 10 to 1, the number of phone calls versus the number of form fills. So again, that's just satisfying the convenience factor, right? So make sure the phone call. So when we're thinking about conversion, think about when you look at your website, when you look at your landing pages, what can I do to this page to help the visitor be encouraged to either fill out my form or give me a call on the phone number that's listed on that page. So we're going to give you some ideas here. Okay, so this is why this is so critical. I hate, we always talk about sales funnels, and I hate sales funnels and the concept of it because it's a little, disingenuous, I guess, to what really happens, right? So the concept of funnel, if you put a funnel, you pour some water in the top, it's got a kind of big opening to make sure it doesn't splash around, and then it all goes straight down to the bottom and collects at the bottom, right? Well, that's not really the way sales and lead generation happens. Actually, what happens with real people is they kind of hear about you. Maybe it's a business card. Maybe you guys were talking, at an event, or maybe a friend's house or something like that, at a ball game, and you had a conversation, and they're like, yeah, this is, if I ever need insurance, this will be the guy I call, right? So you kind of created some awareness, and then maybe they see you on Facebook. And then, so it's really more like this tornado funnel, is the way I kind of think about it. There's a lot of things swirling around, and sometimes things get tossed out, and sometimes things kind of get sucked back in. And that's kind of that re-engagement thing you see there. But generally, you kind of go in and out of these different phases, but the phases are there and the phases are important. The problem is you can't always assume that they're going to come to your homepage, become aware of you, and then go directly down through, fill out your form and all that sort of thing. So keep in mind that we're trying to just create opportunities, and this is why it's important to always have those conversion elements on any page that you might have on your website, because people are going to jump in and out at different levels of this. 3 or 6 months later, they may say, I have to get life insurance because I'm getting ready to have a kid. And all of a sudden now it's gone from awareness straight down to like desire. Like, my wife is on me, I need to get this done. My husband's on me, I need to get this done, right? And so you have an immediate desire and maybe an urgency, and that's going to go straight to conversion. So when you're thinking about kind of the sales funnel, think about more of a tornado of things coming in and out, and you needing to satisfy the level of information and the actual functionality to get in touch with you, no matter where they happen to land on your website. And so that's the mentality that we're going to kind of go through as we look at this. Down here, if interested in a good creator. Brochures, yeah, I mean, Lou, that's okay. Sometimes there's an idea, an idea or concept of what we call about lead magnets, where you can actually download something for them to take a look at. We won't go into this. I've got another webinar about kind of drip emails and stuff, but maybe that first autoresponder kind of delivers that brochure that gives them maybe some information they can kind of consume until you actually reach out to them and call them. But I don't think I would just let them download it off my website and kind of walk away. But again, there's a lot of reasons for having that brochure, but maybe I would try to actually get them to ask me the question that's bothering them first, and that's just going to make a better lead for you. Okay, site navigation, lots of different theories on this. This is actually the Kaleidico website. You can see that I don't actually have a lot of navigation, because really when I get them to my website, I want them to talk to me, right? I want them to tell me about their projects, and I want them to start a conversation. However, people are very familiar with this, and a lot of people actually are on the mobile, or will do this on their phone anyway. And so this is becoming really familiar. So they know if they want additional navigation or want to look for additional things on my website, if they click on that, they're going to get that. But you can see right off the bat, I'm a huge believer, form, phone number, form, phone number. You're going to see that whenever I'm talking about sort of, lead generation, that's the elements that are always going to be there. To your point, let's see who asked that. Lou. I do actually, if you go on the website, why hire Kaleidico, we actually do have kind of a click to download. I'm trying to get them to get me in touch, but if you're just kind of stuck on that and you're like, oh, do I even want to reach out to them? If you click on that link, it actually just immediately downloads a little presentation, kind of like a flyer. So that's maybe a way that you could do that. Yeah, definitely. I think it's Addy. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. But that's a good point. There's a lot of information already there. You want them to speak to you. And that's why, again, I try to give them the option to just ask me anything. Ask me a question is a great call to action, because sometimes when they see all that stuff, especially on some of these insurance landing pages that I've seen, there's like so much information, they're just overwhelmed. So giving them the opportunity to give you a quick call or just ask whatever question that they have and make it really simple and not overwhelming. Don't ask them their date of birth, their social, all that junk that most lead providers do. That's a whole different reason that they do that. But in your case, just say, hey, just ask me a question. So that's a super good point. Okay, so I was talking about kind of this little menu option here. So this is how I do my navigation, because again, I want to keep everybody super focused on generating a lead for me. But once I've done that, this opens up and you can see, like, I don't want my form to disappear. So even in my navigation, I have that form and I have that phone number. So it's always there, always there. Give them some different options. Again, the phone number's reiterated here. Maybe they just want to actually just send an email, or maybe they want to come visit the office. This is a real credibility thing. So even if it's a home office, try to get an actual physical address in your website. I think that ups your credibility a lot. And then again, there's tons of information on our website, but I really reduce it down to these 5 links, right? I don't want them to kind of do anything other than either learn more about the company. Maybe they're going to read some blog posts, which all have calls to action in them. Listen to my podcast, which has a lot of information. We get some conversions off that, or just contact me. So again, navigation, keep it super simple. Don't give them a ton of options. Options paralyze people on the web, so keep that to a minimum. Number of clicks. I won't show you a lot of examples of this. Well, kind of the last one is sort of an example of this. You want to minimize the number of clicks they need to get somewhere where they can actually convert, right? So there's no clicks needed to actually convert on my homepage. There's no clicks needed to convert on the actual navigation or menu. And if you were to go to a blog post, there's no clicks necessary, right? So don't kind of create these not to disparage, because it's a good tool, I guess, but kind of the notion of like click funnels, not the company, but just kind of the concept of kind of clicking through all these different things. Sometimes you can kind of overthink the process. For most of you, you don't need that sophistication. You just need, again, to give them the option to quickly give you a call or fill out that web form with a question, and that'll get the ball rolling. It also doesn't overwhelm them, again, or kind of takes down their anxiety over being in a sales conversation. If you ask them all those questions about the products and everything, yeah, that'll help you diagnose what they need as far as a product or a service. But you can do that on a phone call. You can do that once you're actually, built that relationship and are having, email conversations back and forth. Like, wait to get that information. You don't, again, want to kind of scare them away because you're asking all of this. Potentially, it's not personal necessarily, but it just feels too personal, right? All right, calls to action. Again, wherever you're doing, I've just got some clients here, some different ones, and you can see inside of a blog, we're always using some calls to action. And again, depending on what you're potentially selling, maybe if you're doing real estate, it's to, set up a viewing or schedule a tour. This is actually a senior living community. If you're actually selling a product, again, asking a question is sometimes the best. Maybe set up a demo. If you're actually going to, and again, this depends on kind of your point of view or what you're selling, but think about, like, what is that next step, and define that in the button. In this button, ultimately, again, if it's in a blog post or something like that, if you have that capability or you're at that technical level, by clicking that button, it essentially sends them into a contact form to schedule a consultation, schedule a meeting, schedule a financial review. Those are great calls to action. ask us a question, ask me a question, is probably the best potential call to action. Just contacting us. Don't overwork the call to action. Sometimes is sufficient to do that. So there's some examples of some call to actions that you can add. Again, if you have control over the page that you're trying to optimize. And again, if you're providing kind of educational information in blog posts, that's super great. But don't forget, every so often, give them that call to action and remind them that, hey, if you're reading all this and it's confusing you a little bit, or you're thinking there's too much for you to even understand, go ahead and ask, call me or ask me a question, and I will help you through this material. Images. Images are super important, and too often when we're building out our websites, we rely on stock imagery. So you guys all have iPhones and stuff like that, and these things got some of the best cameras, better than SLRs that you used to buy. So learn to take pictures with it and use your own pictures whenever possible. Take pictures of your office, take pictures of you at the client, just take pictures of you in general. And so in this case, this is a little trick that we did one time, we do take all of the pictures and we only use our pictures on our website. But sometimes when they're all sitting off in your drive or whatever, it's hard for you to find them, and maybe they're not tagged. Unsplash is a free site for images, and we actually started loading our pictures to Unsplash, sharing them with the community, and this is a great way, again, to be able to find them, because you have to tag them and all that sort of thing and organize them. It's really easy for you to find them and then be able to use them. Again, the interesting part of this is we saw that it actually got us a lot of backlinks, and a lot of national publications were actually using our images. So that's a little trick that potentially you can do with images. Sign up today, receive a free gift. Again, those are okay, but I think for the most part, depending on what you're selling or services, asking that question is still more powerful. Free, everybody likes something free, but depending on what that is, it may not necessarily move your sale forward. So I tend not to do the free gift. If you're going to do a gift, or you're going to send something or mail something to somebody, I always like to do it as a surprise, right? And so that just enhances the experience. So if you do want to send them a free gift or something like that, go ahead and get them to ask a question and start that conversation, and then from there you can kind of surprise them. Maximizing LinkedIn. So that's not in this particular webinar, but that's something we can definitely talk about in a future one, Joshua. But we're not going to kind of get into LinkedIn today. We're going to actually kind of focus on the website. But we can show you that in a future one, how to kind of use social media profiles for sure. Value proposition. Again, kind of using that website to sell. So any sort of information, this is probably not the perfect example it sounds like a lot of you guys are in the insurance world. And I'm going to kind of take you off to sort of mortgage world, some of the background that we work in. And this is helpful. So any sort of information that will help them move forward in an intelligent way with your product is great for your website. Knowing just informational articles and topics about, the difference between term and whole life, the things that maybe the stage of life type information is like, hey, you just got a new job. Hey, you just got married. You just got, you're getting ready to have your first child, all the sort of life events. And so websites are great for allowing you to kind of think through and write out, or potentially do video, which is huge. In fact, if you're willing to get in front of the camera, I suggest that above writing, is to actually create a quick video, put it on YouTube, and embed it in your website, talking through all of the potential questions, objections that you might get from the customer, because you're essentially pre-selling then. Particularly, again, I can't emphasize enough, video works great for this, because they're actually seeing you, hearing you, knowing kind of how you think, understanding from your perspective that particular question and how you would answer it. And so then when they actually reach out to talk to you, they're kind of in the same state of mind as you are and how you would sell something. So they're kind of already in the right position. And now you just have to kind of fill in the last few gapping questions or things that they need to kind of understand to take that final step with you. So when you're thinking about sort of value proposition, make sure that you start to build that content on your website. One of the things that I like to do is anytime I hear an objection, I'll write that down, and then later I'll write or do a video specifically kind of framing up and talking to that objection. And sometimes I'll actually send I'll send a link to that page, or I'll send a link to that video to people in my email cycle. So if I'm doing drip email and that sort of thing, or if I'm just talking to them in just one-off, because as you know, when you're in a sales call and you hit an objection and maybe you haven't heard it before, as soon as you hang up on that call, you always think, oh, I should have said, or I should have done it this way, or I should have told them this instead of that. So by taking those objections or taking those common questions, turning them into videos or writing them out, one, it'll actually make you better on the next call because you will have thought through it in a really good way. And as you're actually sort of having people visit your website, or you're potentially emailing people to start that conversation, you're going to start to shape their perspective such that when they actually get on the call with you, or they actually do that in-person meeting, they're already kind of going to be thinking in a similar way to you. Testimonials and social proof. These are super important if you do them well. If you just kind of throw names and testimonials on the page, you will probably have less impact. But again, this is where video and images are powerful. So taking pictures of you and your clients in a moment of success, whether that's getting their insurance, maybe getting that new car, with the insurance that you provided them. If you're a mortgage broker, obviously the keys to the house sort of thing, moving in, all those kind of images start to put context and show that you have clients around all of these kind of written testimonials. And then the other thing, again, I can't say enough, video. If you can get some video testimonials with your clients, again, makes this, you can see how this page, even though we got a lot of written testimonials, it makes everything feel real because we've got a video, we've got lots of pictures of us and our clients. And so now this testimonial page feels powerful and real. So can't emphasize that enough. The other thing is kind of awards and potential clients. If you are in a more of a business to business sort of place, or like an agency, we win awards, we have significant customers. These are some other things. The one thing, and I know in insurance and mortgage, potentially people you're affiliated with, one thing I like to do is if I'm sort of listed in a directory or listed in a place where I've gotten an award or something like that, those are the only ones I list, because a lot of times those are actually sending me traffic. And so when they land on my page from one of those sites, then I want to reinforce the fact that that award or that list that I'm in is significant to us, and it's important. You're sort of validating that, hey, I was in that list of top brokers in my area, right? And so that could be Yelp, that could be some kind of local stuff. Page speed, again, this is important, but I'm not going to beleaguer this. This is kind of a more technical aspect. So Lou, how about generating a lead with offering a white paper with some solutions for common problems? I think, again, those are excellent. So any sort of lead magnet, any sort of PDF or downloadable or whatever is great for reinforcing kind of the details of what you'll be discussing and kind of equipping them with some deeper education that maybe they take off and read. But I think in most cases, again, I would simplify the initial inquiry to not kind of get bogged down in that. Again, I would send that as a result. But I mean, you could try it. I mean, it definitely works, but I think, again, it's not necessarily a necessity in order to get that conversion. It's amazing how little it takes these days for somebody to fill out a contact form. So just actually having it available for them to fill out is usually enough. A lot of times, even in the digital space, when we're working with companies, we don't even bother with lead magnets, because just putting the form there is usually enough. But it's a great value add. If you've got it, I would certainly use it, but I wouldn't let it prevent you from actually starting to have that form on your page, and starting to publish that offer to kind of ask you a question or to fill out a form. Site security, any site that you're using, ideally, this is Google talking here, HTTPS, having that SSL server certificate is critical to have that secure session. That's just going to help you with SEO. Again, kind of a technical, I won't get too more. Okay, so let's talk about templates and patterns, and then I'm going to go into kind of some of the local stuff, and we'll kind of round out also how to kind of technically implement a website. But like I have talked about through here, there are certain patterns that will just convert over and over again. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of just wireframe pictures of this. So you saw one on our website. This is a pattern that always works. People land here, fill out this. They don't need any more information than this, and it does really well. So this is a pattern. Again, what's your kind of main benefit, or what makes you unique, and then asking them to go ahead and kind of fill out the form or call you. This is kind of a more general version of this. And again, benefit, call to action, some sort of reason that they will benefit from filling out this form. And then the form, video, if you have it, imagery of you with customers is great. If you've got potential, whoops, kind of flip through there. If you got potential products, again, another form, and then you just start to kind of, as you go down this page, you're just kind of hoping that they do it right here, but the rest of this page is just reinforcing the reason or the value for contacting you. So everything down this page just sort of builds on that story that started here. So if you're, whatever this benefit is, or whatever this reason that you're unique, you sort of want to tell that story as you move down the page, and then give them, of course, some more opportunities to fill that form out. So that's kind of your most generic sort of concept for a homepage. If you're inside of a blog post, again, whether you're doing call to actions in between, showing them other related posts so they can click through that. But again, you always have, and ideally if you can, have it just move down with them. That contact form is always important. So you're going to see it over and over again. Contact form, phone numbers, contact form, phone numbers, right? And then here again, this is an about page. So of the 3 pages, homepage, about page, and a blog page, those are like 3 most critical templates and opportunities for conversion. So make sure that you have those kind of designed right. Your about page is, again, about you or your team. And then again, the form to ask you a question. And then again, you sort of, as you go down the rest of the page, support that decision or that reason why they want to fill out the form by reinforcing, hey, we're a team with a lot of experience. We've got some employees that work for us that are pretty incredible. And we've been in business X number of years. Maybe here's a video of you talking to them about what you do. So again, about page. And you can see all these pages are kind of similar, right? In the sense that I'm giving them opportunities to fill out a form. I'm giving them opportunities to call me and at my phone number, right? Okay. Before we do questions, I'm going to actually jump out here for a second. Okay, so I talked about sort of positioning yourself local. There are 3 things that you should walk away and do today if you haven't done this. You should go to Google My Business and you should claim your business or yourself and your location or your small business and put yourself on the map, right, in your local area. So this is super critical. You can do your name. You can set that on the map. Again, depending on your kind of privacy concerns, if you have an office location, then you use your local office location. If you're kind of working from home, it could be, your home address. It could be a PO box or a box that you rent that gives you a physical location. or if you've got like a WeWork or something like that. But ideally, you want to, again, put yourself on the map in that local area. And then when you fill this out, you're going to have lots of options of things that you can put in here. I recommend that you fill out and add as much information as possible. It's not going to actually give you an idea of this, but so these are the key points, right? You want to have your phone number in here. You want to have obviously an address in here. You want to have a website, ideally. If all you've got is a landing page from your insurance company, then use that landing page, right? You want to start to get it on the map. And then images of your clients, images of you. So put a bunch of images in there that you can control that make you feel like a real thriving business. And then again, there'll be some other things that you can do in here you can potentially post videos in here, put as much content as you can and invest as much time as you can in optimizing this or putting a lot of good information in there. It will just help your clients feel more comfortable about you. And because it's Google, this is going to help you get ranked in those top few results when people say insurance agent near me or search for Bill Rice, in a certain location, right? So exactly the same is Bing. So a lot of people, because they're using Windows machines and they're using Internet Explorer, then they will by default be in Bing. So fill this one out as well. Use all the same information, but fill it out so that you wind up in those local Bing searches as well. So set that up. The third one I generally recommend is Yelp. Now, a lot of people think, oh, this is just for restaurants, but there's a good possibility that your business or your location is already in Yelp. So you may be claiming it. If not, set up, again, your local entity inside of Yelp, because people will use this as reviews or leave reviews, and you want to kind of control this page as much as you can. You can't necessarily suppress bad reviews, so you always want to make sure you're doing good customer service, but it will help people find you, and it will help reinforce the notion that you are the best local option. So those are three that you should go ahead and fill out immediately. I was talking about kind of, this is a mortgage site that we run. This is more of a lead generation site, but you can see we got some value propositions. We've got national rates. These are not local lender rates. These are published by Freddie Mac. But one of the top questions, as you know, that we're trying to answer for them is, hey, give me a rate quote. That's what generates the lead. What are rates right now? I tell in the most kind of popular products, what's kind of the prevailing market rate. How are house prices? Are they moving up or down? So those are the initial things. And then just how to pick the right loan program, right? So we got some information calculators. Again, I'm thinking about like what information does that client need in order to convert into a lead for myself. The other thing, particularly and this could be also help insurance folks, sometimes they're anxious about their credit score. So giving them the ability with an affiliate program to kind of do their free credit score is a great way to get them over that anxiety. So we offer free credit scores on here. Again, you can do that through an affiliate program. And then, okay. So the last thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to Q&A and we'll wrap up the session, but how do you actually get the website done? I'm a huge proponent of WordPress, but it is a little more technical. Potentially, you'll need a designer and a developer to actually do that for you. But once it's already designed and set up and everything, it's pretty easy to use and add content to. And they've got plugins and all that sort of thing, so you can get really advanced features. So that is for somebody who is a startup, or maybe you already have a significant business and you're just trying to blow it up on the internet versus what you're kind of doing offline, or maybe just have been doing this for years. Now it's time to really take digital serious. So that's kind of your probably your most expensive, but most powerful option would be put it on WordPress and potentially get somebody to help you build that website. Or if you're technical, it's not above most people who are tech savvy means to kind of do that in a fairly good way. For most of you, that's probably not an option. Either the budget's not an option, or maybe your technical capabilities are not an option, but you want to start really quickly starting to build your own personal presence on the internet. I suggest something like a Squarespace. Again, super cheap. You can start with some basic templates that they have in here. And it'll get you by, right? It'll do exactly what you need to do. Now, it won't be kind of as robust as some of the things that I suggested as far as forms and that kind of stuff, but you can roughly approximate it. So I did here, just for example, is I went and searched on Squarespace. I looked at their different templates, went into professional services, because most of you are probably selling services or financial products. And I just went to the very first one. So let's take a look at this first one, and I'll kind of show you how this kind of gives you everything that you need, right? Especially if you're going to sort of start out your personal brand. So you just need somebody to do a logo. That can be done, either by yourself or relatively easy. What is the main benefit? Like, why do they need to call you? Just write that in a sentence or less. Don't put a bunch of stuff here. You can see even in their example, get ready to take control of your finances, right? Or, ask me a question about your insurance, or let me help you, understand your insurance needs. Of course, it's got the menu. And so you can kind of flush that out, only have 2 or 3 pages or whatever. You don't have to get too much. I love this schedule an appointment. This is a great call to action for most of you. And that's already baked into this theme. And so if you go here, you can tell them, hey, why do you need to call me? Maybe the top services that you offer, and that'll be like the 3 pages. And maybe a picture of your office or whatever. I mean, you can actually kind of lay right in this without doing much, and it will convert. This is a pretty nice theme. And then everything's driving. You see how that's important, that call to action. Make sure that you stay consistent. But I like this schedule a free consultation. And again, it's baked into this theme. And so a lot of times you can fill out a form, you can ask a question, maybe you can call them, but to actually get them to schedule an appointment with you would be super awesome, right? And it looks like they have, some plugin that'll allow you to do that, and probably interfaces with your calendar, or you could use something like Calendly probably. But this, again, out of the box, super cheap, doesn't need a lot of technical capability, and you can have a really professional looking, ready to go theme that's going to convert. Okay, questions. Got just a couple minutes left here. Hopefully I gave you, again, this is sort of a broad introduction over websites and kind of how to make sure what to look for in making them convert. But hopefully it's got you a starting place, and maybe generated some questions. If you have any questions there, go ahead and drop them into the chat. If you don't have any questions, why don't you guys tell me, what is the first thing that you're thinking about doing based on everything that you heard here? What is, just kind of give me an idea of what you think your next step is. Yeah, so WordPress, I mean, you can get WordPress sites, again, if you're not going to do any of the development. If you're actually going to do the development work yourself and the design work yourself, and maybe use a pre-made template, if you're going to do it yourself, you can get a pre-made template for less than $100, and then you can, again, if you're technical, you can put that in, put in that pre-made template, configure it, and you can get started with that. WordPress itself is free. Got the cost of hosting, which can be anywhere from $5 to $50, and so that's all in. If you were to go out to a design agency to do this, then you're running anywhere from $5,000 to maybe $15,000 for a completely custom website. And that makes sense if you got a large lending business, or maybe you're an actual insurance broker and you got a large book of business. But if you've got a limited budget, you're looking for individual sort of portfolio stuff just to kind of build your individual brand, that's where a Squarespace will get you in there for just a few bucks every single month. And I couldn't see the visuals with the website. That's not good. Are you guys seeing like the Squarespace actual? Yeah, keep it simple and have a conversation. Joshua, that's the most important. And again, if budget's not there or technical's not there, then again, encourage you to investigate and fill out these Google My Business, Bing Places, and Yelp. That's a good place because that's going to put you on the map. It's going to get your phone number there, and if you have a landing page, only seeing me. Huh, that's interesting. Let's see. How about now? Let's try this. Okay. Can you see, are you looking at the Squarespace now? Or I'm sorry, it's on Yelp actually. Okay, cool. How about when I switch? Maybe it was when I switched. Here's kind of, this is Squarespace because it's probably going to fit with most of you. Okay, cool. So this is the one I was talking about on Squarespace. Again, based on budgets and based on you guys kind of doing it yourself, this is probably kind of the first best option. So anyway, this is that theme I was talking about. Schedule a consultation. There's obviously a plug-in there, so you can take a look at that. Invisible to convert a .NET to a WordPress site. So .NET and WordPress is kind of like two different things going on there. .com is always the best. So if you're, some name .NET, then that's valuable from a domain perspective if you can get the other domain. If you're talking about like a .NET as far as the programming language to a WordPress, I would definitely recommend that because a .NET site means that someone probably custom designed an ASP, ASP.NET site for you, and you probably can't do anything with it unless you're highly technical. Whereas WordPress, although there's an investment to be made there, once it's done, you'll be able to add content very easy. You'll be able to potentially change themes. It's easy and relatively cheaper to hire developers and designers with a WordPress versus a .NET, which is, if that's the case, it sounds like it is, Lou, that would have been sort of custom development. So every time you want to make a change, you have to pay a developer an hourly rate to kind of do that. And that's probably, that bill is going to probably add up to a lot of money. So would definitely recommend that. Okay, guys, seems like the questions are going to slow down. Again, would love for you to kind of tune in, and you're obviously on email list, or you kind of came across me promoting this through our normal channels. We're going to try to have these webinars every couple weeks. And so if you have suggestions, reach out and email me at bill.rice@kaleidico.com. For any future topics you want to hear about. I heard some people talking about LinkedIn, so we'll probably do a little session on that coming up. But about every 2 weeks, kind of look for that next webinar, and we'd love to have you back next time. Again, thanks for attending and all the great questions, and we will talk to you on the next one. Have a great one.